begin or what is it now?
Yes, sir.
Shall I start?
No, sir, I introduce first.
That's right.
So the recording is starting now. It is my immense pleasure.
You are Mr. Hivar.
To introduce the speaker, respected Professor Dr. B.M. Naik sir, the founder principal of HGGS Nanded. About qualification PhD, experience during 1961 to 62 Public Works Department, 62 to 73 lecturer in College of Engineering Pune, 66 to 68 on scholarship to Germany, 73 to 77 deputy apprenticeship advisor in Directorate of Technical Education Mumbai, 77 to 83 faculty of Indian Institute of Public Administration Delhi, during 83 to 99 founder principal of HGGS Nanded. About the books published: Project Management in 1985, New Vistas in Technical Education in 1995, Global Visions and Missions in Technical Education in 2008, Tantra Shikshanachi Purarachna in 1999, Higher and Technical Education Book of Knowledge in 2010, Education and Leadership, Role of Universities and Colleges to Nurture Leaders, first edition in 2015 and revised in 2018. And one more, Insights into Research, Innovation and Entrepreneurship for Higher and Technical Education, Challenges of New Education Policy 2020. Sir has broad-heartedly shared this copy in PDF form already with all the participants. Talking about achievements, more than 60 research papers published. For one of those papers, prized by Institute of Engineers in 1973. Lifetime Achievement Award by College of Engineering Pune. Education Advisor and Mentor of Governing Board for KK Walk Engineering College Nasik, RIT Engineering College Islampur, Government Engineering College Aurangabad. Committee member of Rajiv Gandhi Commission on S&T during 95 to 2006. Sir was appointed as mentor by Government of India in TUQIP scheme to various engineering colleges. And now I am sharing the screen also here.
So, shall I start now?
Sir, I am sharing it is, I think we are able to see that screen now.
Yeah.
Sir. Yes, sir, you can start, please.
Yeah. At the outset, let me congratulate this college of VP Baramati for organizing a very important program on innovative teaching and learning. The program approved by AICTE and ISTE. I also appreciate and thank the organizers for inviting me to share a few thoughts with the distinguished participants from various institutions in Maharashtra state. I will be speaking on the topic Insights into Research, Innovation and Entrepreneurship for Higher and Technical Education, Challenge of National Education Policy and Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. I have written a book of this title, and it is published by Notion Press, Express Publishing. It is available hard copy. Similarly, I have given a soft copy to every participant, and I request everyone to go through critically and let me have possibly a feedback on your observations on the various topics, chapters mentioned in this. Well, friends, let me first begin by raising a question, possibly. Where does India stand in world ranking of the institutions in higher and technical education? India government has started recently NIRF, and we will take these slides a little later. I will talk in general for about 5-10 minutes, and then we go to the
Yes,
slide
sir.
one by one.
You just ask me, I will move slide further. Okay, sir?
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
right. So, where does India stand in world ranking in higher and technical education? Now, NIRF is also starting with a view to develop a competitive spirit between the institutions so that they rank high in the Indian list as well as in the world list. And I don't have to tell where do we stand in world ranking. In world ranking, we stand not very high. Prime Minister of our India, he wanted India to appear in the first 50, and this he expressed about 3-4 years back openly, and he offered 10 universities from public sector and 10 universities from private sector to take autonomy from the government as much as they like and to demand money as much as they like. After 3-4 years, none of the institutions has come up. And now the Prime Minister is not talking on this point at all. The Ministry of Human Resource Development is also silent about it. You see, in this period, what has happened to the Chinese universities? How many Chinese universities were behind and how many have climbed up the ladder? It is reported, it is observed that more than 10-20 universities have climbed the ladder up, and China is moving far ahead. See, there are very small countries like New Zealand, Singapore, Israel, where they have world-class universities which rank at the world level. The population of Israel is less than 1 crore. The population of New Zealand is less than 50 lakhs, around 50 lakhs. But a big country like India, why can't it make it to rise up in the world ranking is a question. And this question must be debated and discussed openly. Are we short of money? The academicians in India, so also the politicians in India, they must give a serious thought to this aspect. What is ailing with the higher education? New Education Policy 2020 have opened its mind on this issue also, and they have observed that we are moving, you see, climbing the hilltop is not a matter of just 1 or 2 steps. It takes a little longer time. So are our students not working hard? Are our professors not working hard? Are our systems and procedures not matching with the world ranking systems? Are the systems and strategies adopted by the India government, adopted by the various state governments and the private universities not up to the mark what is the matter? Something is seriously wrong. See, I will tell you the story of United States of America. In 1801 to 1808, there was a president. The name of this president was Thomas Jefferson. He was first a professor in university. He is the founder person of Georgia Tech University in Atlanta. And then he became the president of the United States of America. When he became president at that time, there was a topic of discussion in USA. What was the topic? The topic was the European economy. The European industry was way ahead of American industry and American economy. And they were thinking, what are the new strategies we must adopt so that we can go ahead of European universities? The European economy, like in Germany, like in France, like in England, were way ahead of the US economy and US industry. And this Thomas Jefferson came up with his thinking, and he told that until and unless our universities, US universities rank higher than the universities in France, Germany, and England, the economy and industry of USA will not be able to show better performance. This was the suggestion made by the President Thomas Jefferson. He applied this thing and he started National Science Foundation, and he gave a fillip to three things, which is the title of my book. He gave a fillip, he gave a boost to research in US universities. He gave a boost to innovation in US universities and also made the universities enterprising. And the result is today, first 10 universities, out of first 10, 8 universities are from USA. And because the US universities are outstanding today, as compared to the others, the US economy is better. The US industry, the US politics is far superior, is dominating in the world rank. The intellectual property rights. Yesterday was a day. What was the day? It was the International Day for Intellectual Property Rights celebration. This in intellectual property, US stands #1 in the world. Most of the intellectual property in the world is owned and possessed by the United States of America. These are the characteristics of the universities, which make the university not only university, but the people and the country far too superior than, see, it is not important how much land you possess, how much natural resources you possess, minerals, gold, and all those resources you possess, they are important. But nowadays, more important is the intellectual property. And in this intellectual property, how is this intellectual property or the innovation, research, and entrepreneurship connected with the Indian well-being, with the prosperity of India? It is observed that those countries, India wants to become a developed country as early as possible. It set a target. The Abdul Kalam used to say by 2022, India intends to become a developed country. Today, it is a developing country. It is a low-income economy country. It is a low-technology country, and it wants to climb up. And the observation is that until and unless the universities and the engineering colleges, they rank high in the world list. Why should they rank high in the world list to become a developed country? They ought to become better so that they produce better leaders. Nowadays, institutions are not supposed to provide just graduates, but they are supposed to provide able leaders, leaders who can manage various professions, not only engineering, industry, economy, commerce, trade, and so on. These industries, these economies, they must have better leaders, and these leaders can come only from such institutions. If such institutions produce mediocre leaders, and then mediocre leaders lead the various professions in the various walks of life, then the economy will not grow competitively. The natural resources are ample, but they do not make a difference until and unless the intellectual resources they rise up in the world list. See, once upon a time, India had the world first universities like Nalanda and Takshashila, but they have become a history. India was a leading country in the whole world, and scholars from outsider used to come to this country. Now we have started a new university at Nalanda. Dr. Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate, was entrusted the responsibility. But of late he has resigned. He has resigned and he has gone back to his way. He is no more in charge of this. Now, I will tell you something about the leading universities in the world. One leading university I intend to mention to you is the Stanford University. This university I have visited and seen intimately from inside. Some of you also might have visited this university. If you have not yet visited, I would request every one of you to visit the American university. Until and unless you visit foreign universities, today many good things are happening in foreign universities. Good things are happening in India also. We have climbed up after 1947. We have improved our university. The number has gone up from just a few to more than 1,000. Number of colleges have also gone up. This is a good story, but yet, as far as the quality of education is concerned, we are not in the world list. About this University of the Stanford, what are the unique characteristics of this university? Why this Stanford was a person. He was refused admission in MIT Boston, and he was not very happy to have been refused admission. So he went to California and he started this university, and he made this university a forerunner in the world. The characteristics of this university is that it has produced more than 3,000 entrepreneurs, 3,000 high-tech companies, 3,000 new technology-based firms are set up by the graduates and the professors of this university. And the 3,000 companies, they pay quite a high salary, working conditions are far too superior, and they have a big impact, not only in the American economy and life of people in America, but on the whole world. The Stanford University had the research wing very, very strong, innovation wing very, very strong. And because of these strategies, they have a technology part, they have a research part. Within the campus, this university has about 5,000 acres of land. You can imagine what is this piece of land. And it is a private university. It is not a government university. They do not get any money for this expansion from the government of America. This is a private university, like many private. America has many government universities and many private universities. But the private universities are way ahead of the government universities in America. You see, these companies, how do they raise? How does this Stanford University raise funds for research? They do not, they apply for the funds to the government, and they get the funds from the government. But this is not the only source. The major source for funding of research in Stanford University are the 3,000 companies to whom they have given birth, and they are continuously in dialogue with these 3,000 firms. They get a royalty from these companies, and this royalty is utilized. This is in millions of dollars. This is utilized again and again in research and producing more number of the companies, and again more higher royalty into this industry. See, one another beautiful part for the professors, if a professor wants to support the startup, and the startups are normally started by students, and professors are at the backbone. They provide the support. But if the professor and the student, they want 2-3 years leave from the university permits. And if he wants to go ultimately into company, or if he wants to come back, the doors are open both ways. This is the, see, many big entrepreneurs. Elon Musk, you all know now, that is a product of this university. He came to this university from South Africa. He was in Canada. He was in northern part of USA. But ultimately, this university, Stanford, is a magnet. It is a magnet for scholars. Every brilliant boy wants to make a learning experience in Stanford. Similarly, every industry man also wants to make a startup in California. And Elon Musk is now, you know, he started Tesla, and he has now we will begin with the slides. My suggestion to you is that what Thomas Jefferson gave strategy to the United States of America at that time: research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. This must be the focal principles of every institution. Without research, institution has no standing whatsoever. Without intellectual property right, university has no standing in the academic field. We have to ask a question to ourselves today: where do we stand in intellectual property rights? As an individual professor, one is not a professor worthy of name if he has no intellectual property at his credit. If the institution has no intellectual property at its credit, this institution, they say in the international term, is not worth the name. Anyway, friends, we take a message from this US. I will tell you at the end something more about the good universities in Canada, good universities in Germany, Berlin, and England. So can I have, friend, the slideshow now? Yeah. The NEP has made a few recommendations. What are the recommendations? The NEP has made major recommendations. There are many. We are not going to talk about the school education and the other education. We are going to talk about the recommendations only about the universities and colleges, with which you are concerned, with which we all are concerned. The first and foremost recommendation is the National Research Foundation. First time in India, like there is a NSF in United States of America. Not only they created a foundation, they are going to create a foundation. The government has already sanctioned 50,000 crores of rupees to this foundation. See, National Higher Education and Research Council is proposed, combining UGC and AICTE. See, in both these words, you see the word research, national research, and in second, higher education and research. Earlier, UGC did not make any mention about research. AICT also, there was no mention of research. But now, in the first two major recommendations, there is a mention of the research. Every professor in an institution of higher education and learning is a research scientist. Every student has to become a research and innovative scientist. He should think in terms of research. He should not think only to repeat what his forefathers have repeated. Budget speech of the Union Finance Minister has permitted FDI, foreign direct investment is permitted. This is the first time FDI has allowed a foreign universities to set up its own campus on Indian soil. Till today, there are foreign universities, many, but these foreign universities are working in collaboration with in Madras, Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, and so on. See, but now, do you think FDI is good? See, this was the question when IBM was allowed in India, when Microsoft, when foreign, now the India government gives a red carpet welcome to the companies to come in India. Similarly, India government offers a red carpet treatment to the universities in India. Our education has to be competitive by world competitiveness, world dynamics. It has to be aligned. There are many opportunities in the world. This is the time of globalization. There are challenges in the world and there are opportunities in the world. Method of education, which is the topic of your webinar. Method of education has got to change. It has not to remain the same. If you have to compete in the world market, from memorization to experimentation, memorization is no good. Memorization is found to stifle the innovation talent. If you are too much memorizing, then you are doing less and less on innovation. You think that tomorrow is like yesterday, but tomorrow is never like yesterday. Are you a teaching shop? Is your college or your university, is it a teaching shop? It has no future if it is to remain a teaching shop. It has a bright future if the university or college is always innovating and innovating. Whatever work you are doing, whatever subjects you are teaching, whatever things students and professors, are you always engaged in innovation? Then the future is very, very bright. Yeah, can we go to the next, please? Next slide, please. Yeah, NEP 2020 now prescribes innovation centers, prescribes incubators, business incubator, technology incubator, it prescribes research park, it prescribes intellectual property right, it prescribes venture capital firms, etc. in each institute, not in isolation from industry, but in partnership with industry. Until and unless these things are set up, the job generation will be slow. The jobs are less likely to be generated, and these jobs will be only in yesterday's skills and technology. Mandate. What is a mandate? Mandate means it's a obligatory as per the NEP now is to make education innovative and enterprising. We have to ask a question in our institution. Is my education innovative? Not only the methods of teaching and learning are innovative, but the syllabi. And am I producing the startups? The main thing is startups, the entrepreneurship, like the Stanford, which is producing 3,000 startups, has produced 3,000 startups. So are our institutions producing startups? If not, we have to make a beginning. Close relationship of our education with the world of work is recommended. If our education is diverse from the world of work, it is no good. It must be connected closely. Silicon Valley and Stanford University, they have created a ecosystem in that region. I have observed that the ecosystem is comfortable for Silicon Valley industries. Similarly, it is comfortable to the Stanford University. We have to enlarge the third point, the outlook of students. Outlook of students has to be enlarged to professions and problems in them. We have not to teach only bookish things. We have to teach what are the problems in the various professions. And we can ask the students to evolve solutions. The professors themselves can have debate, discussions, hackathons to evolve solutions. Remember, innovation is the foundation of startups. And startups are necessary to bring new ideas to the market. New ideas will not come to the market unless and until there are startups, and startups will not come until and unless there is innovation. Now the India government thinks about Atmanirbhar Bharat, dependence to reduce on foreign countries. In our institutions, we have to teach not only subject matter, but current and future problems in professions. What are the current problems in civil engineering, in electronics, in computer? You see, although we have big companies like TCS and Infosys, yet there are very, very few products from these companies in the world market. Problem-based learning, PBL, you have mentioned in your scope of your program, and you have detailed discussions on this topic. I am very happy you have conceived the subject in an appropriate way. You have to conceive PBL and give a good fillip, give a good boost. Syllabi ought now to state problems and enable students to find solutions. Don't give solutions to the boys. You see, in our laboratories, our students are only testing what is proven 10 years, 20 years, 50 years before, like Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law. We have our laboratories must find solutions to new things. Teach emerging skills in research, emerging skills in innovation, and emerging not yesterday's skills, but what are the skills coming up. NEP envisions India to become a world education hub. And Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is the overall target. We have to keep in view while designing the syllabi, while teaching to our students, and while working in our institutions. May I have the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Yeah, statement of the problem. India has many problems. The first and foremost problem is of unemployment. Second problem is the import of goods and services in India is far more than export, especially in defense. 90% of the import is in defense, and it is true because we are not in a position to produce. Ranking of institutions in India is too low. The brain drain is too high. So also the money drain. Thousands of students every year go abroad for higher education. And they have been going from Gandhi Nehru period. How long they should keep on going? Can we not design our systems to reduce the brain drain? Now India government wants to make it a hub. Hub means students should come from foreign. Professors should come from foreign. Industries should come from foreign. You see, in those universities like Stanford, the industries are flocking around Stanford. Not only Stanford, at every university like MIT and other universities, Berlin. Why are they coming to the universities and to the colleges? They are coming because there is a good research. Industries cannot do all the research by themselves. They have to depend upon the scholars in the universities and colleges. Autonomy is prescribed by the government of India from old days, from 1964-66, but autonomy has never been implemented in letter and spirit. Professors have capability, professors have creativity and innovation, but all this creativity, capability is untapped. It is training of professors for innovation is essential. The role of management, role of the BOG is very vital. Are our professors innovative? How could they be more innovative? How the syllabi could be made more innovative? How the professor's mindset should be changed? Poor service conditions of Indian professors vis-a-vis international. This is another viewpoint, which is very big. In foreign countries, you see, professors are not allowed to retire unless they themselves want to retire. Professor Amartya Sen, who is now 80, yet he is guiding a few PhD scholars. But he is not said that now goodbye. He still has a chamber in his university at the age of 80 in our country. As soon as a person reaches the age of 60, his chamber is removed from the campus. 60 or maybe 70, nowadays it is improving, it is changing. Poor governance and poor leadership. This is one of the important characteristics. Poor governance and poor leadership at central government, state government, college level, university level is the main cause. There is no globally competent leadership available at central, state, and college, university level. Global winds of change. We always are inward looking. We do not look to the outside, what is happening, which new strategies are coming in the world, which new visions and which missions are being followed. Institutions are not world class. You see, our institutions are far too behind because our professors are not along with the professors in the world market. Small countries like Singapore, this point I have, a strategic failure of India is due to poor governance. See, there are many things I would like to say in this institution. Shall I have the next slide, please? You see, one of the observations, yeah, next slide, please. One of the observation is that in every state, the governor of a state, this is coming from tradition. He is the chancellor of university. He does the appointments of the vice chancellor. Sometimes he is 10th pass. Sometimes he hasn't visited a college. This is ridiculous. He holds no credential whatsoever to appoint the head of, and these are some of the observations on account of which you see the universities haven't implemented autonomy principle. One important point is the root cause of all problems, those problems which we have shared earlier, is insufficient innovation and insufficient entrepreneurship. In education, in universities and colleges, there is a serious deficiency of innovation and serious deficiency of entrepreneurship and research. As a result, persons with innovation skills in India are in short supply. Not enough people are available with innovation skills. Lack of innovation is the major barrier in job generation and employment. Innovation is a strong stimulant. Innovative persons work with passion. Innovative persons do not work just for salary. They have a passion. They have a keen desire. They have endless energy. Most of the innovations in India have come from abroad. Innovative people are never unemployed. They innovate and again innovate. They create new and they create wealth. Learning has to be innovation oriented, creativity and entrepreneurship oriented so as to make Indian economy strong. Indian industry, for that matter, any industry cannot do all the research and innovation it needs to be competitive globally. University and industry must join hands to do the research and innovation. Industry is for production, and universities and colleges are for research and for innovation. Yeah, next, please. Can I have next? Yeah. What is the changing role of higher and technical education under globalization pressure? Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan offers vast opportunity and is a strong driver of change. The traditional role of teaching, learning, examination, degree award is good, but not enough to meet the global challenges. Now, new role is to educate students, if not everyone, but to a few, to become innovators, to become creators, to become discoverers, to become entrepreneurs, technology pioneers, etc. Educate students to dream big. They come to the universities and colleges to create dreams. What Abdul Kalam used to say, do you have a dream? Wider imagination. Imagination is very important. They should jumpstart to build high-tech enterprises using latest research and innovation. How many companies are born in institutes? How many new technologies, new theories, patents, and IPR are produced? Is a measure of competitiveness of an institution at the international level. Our NIRF doesn't say much. It says something. How long should we borrow technology from abroad? India is borrower and borrower. India is never an exporter. Yeah, please, next. Next slide, please. Lifelong education. See, giving education only once now is not enough. We all know that obsolescence of knowledge and technology is fast. Continuing lifelong education, corporate education, keeping the human force competent in emerging skills all the time has become essential. Do we have a corporate education center in our university? It has to be set up in PPP. If you go to Germany and America, you will see that in PPP mode, they have got corporate education center, means people from corporate sector come here. It may be economics, it may be sociology, it may be technology, it may be management. They come and receive the education, but we don't have this corporate technology transfer center. Now your college is having so much of technology. Our society needs that technology, but we don't have a mechanism to transfer the new technology from institute to industry. Universities and colleges ought to produce captains and generals, technology pioneers of global standard. Not only machines become obsolete, but men also. Online courses like this for mid-career industry personnel must be designed and conducted again and again. You see, whenever there is a vacation, see, let me tell you the observation in those countries, how many students are freshers and how many students are mid-career students. Mid-career students in those countries are quite large in number. They lose the jobs after 4 or 5 years if they do not upgrade themselves. Now we have to learn to educate our existing people in new skills and new technology. Yeah. Can I have the next, please? NEP 2020 envisions India to become World Education Hub. It gives mandate to install research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Many challenges are posed to universities and colleges. The first and foremost is spin-off, means give birth to startups. Imparting skills, imparting only known knowledge and known technology does not suffice. This is a very important sentence. See, are we teaching only known knowledge and known technology, I have observed very closely. Now, my grandson is studying graduation in engineering in USA. I go often and my grandson tells me that routine things are not taught to us. Routine things we are supposed to learn by ourselves. Now, the university professors, they are teaching us new knowledge, new technology, which is yet to come. Do our institutes have the knowledge springs? Knowledge spring means a well water spring. A well is well if it has the new water coming from bottom of the well. Similarly, universities and colleges are supposed to be giving birth to new knowledge and new technology, and they are supposed to teach that. Not rote learning, but understanding concepts. Innovators and technology pioneers needed to, and not teacher puppets. We should not make our students teacher puppets. Learn what I have taught, but learn, imagine. Einstein used to give emphasis on imagination. Have you increased the imagination of the students? Remember, rote learning tends to kill innovative talent. Too much of rote learning, too much of memorization is not good for the career of the students. They must discover something, they must find out some problems themselves, define a problem in profession and hit at the problem. Then only you will rise up. Startups are coming up and startups are more successful only when the startups are in the needed area. Now, may I have the next one, please? Next slide. Yeah. Do we have a culture of research, innovation, and startups? What should be the character of a college? The character of a college should not be mugging up. The character of a college should not be examination. The character of a college should not be just teaching and learning. The character of a college should be innovation. The thinking of the professors, culture of the institution should be, you go in lab. I went in Germany, one laboratory, and whenever I went to a lab, the laboratory people used to tell me, this is the lab where the new things were discovered by the earlier people. Will the professor take this as a challenge? What is the challenge? To create a new culture. The new culture of innovation and startups cannot be generated by the board of governors or by the principal alone. It has to be generated by the professors. They have to think, they have to have a debate and discussions among themselves. The students from foreign higher will come to this country only when you give something new to them. If you do not give new ahead of what others do not give, otherwise then the brain drain will continue. India will become prosperous if we think of giving new, creating world-class universities and colleges in India. See, this was the dream of our Prime Minister, world-class universities. He gave it the dream of 10 from private and 10 from government, but that dream, he is no more talking now because probably MHRD and AICT have yielded and they do not want to debate and discussions on this. But my personal feeling is that our visions, our targets, our systems are inappropriate for making the universities and colleges world class. Professors matter most. The standing of a university or college is decided by the professors. Can they be equal to world best? Do you dream to be equal to, do you design courses in innovation friendly, conduct research to create well-water springs of new knowledge and new technology and make institutions enterprising? If you get a syllabus from university and you have to just teach it, then you have hardly any scope. Every college, engineering college especially, ought to become autonomous. You see, your experience and experience of another person in Pune or another person in Baramati, in the Satara, it cannot be the same. A change in professors' mindset, reorientation of innovation is badly needed. Potential in each professor for innovation is vast, but this potential has to be untapped. We have to release this potential, and they have to, our systems and procedure must permit every professor to think innovatively and to give his experience to his students in an innovative manner. Students ought to be educated to make them innovation and creativity minded and not paper degree minded. See, paper degree, this Elon Musk, he is a dropout of one university and he did not work well in the Stanford University. Global, about you see, the innovation minded people think out of box. Global opportunities for creativity, innovative are too big, but they have to be encashed. Yeah, please. Next one. See, in defense, do you practice reverse engineering? Do you teach what is reverse engineering? The Defense Department holds some exhibition of the imported parts in their department. And then they want academic institutions to provide, especially now, the present defense minister and the prime minister, they are very keen on this. If you go to them, there are hundreds and hundreds of products, but we never teach our students problem solving and reverse engineering. Institutes are expected to generate new knowledge, new technology, new theory to cope with world dynamics. Imagination power of students to handle first mover entrepreneurs. What is the first mover entrepreneur? He creates that technology and then he becomes the entrepreneur. And institutions are supposed to create first mover entrepreneurs. Colleges ought to acquire innovative enterprising character. Research park in partnership with industry. I will tell you a little more about this. This is the only way research park. Yeah, next one. Research park, next slide, please. See, research park is a industrial complex adjacent to any institute or any university or a research laboratory. It is an industrial complex. And a detailed study, university-related research park, is conducted by Association of University Research Park. If you ask the NET, AURP and Battelle, you will get it's a 150-page report. They have studied, analyzed how the university-related research park have contributed to the US and the world economy, how the industrialization has grown, and the contribution is done by the research park. But we don't have many. Very recently, Chennai IIT, Delhi, Bombay IIT, they have recently started, but they are in the infant stages. You see, they run, AURP runs courses in America for 1 week, 2 week courses. They take us around the visit for 2-3 weeks, show us the successful and failure research parts. And then you see the countries from various the professors from various countries take a message to make the research park project successful in their respective countries. BOGs ought to be innovative. This is very important word. Global winds of change. What is happening in Germany? What is happening in France? What is happening in England? If we are close to their developments, you will never win in the global competition. You will always lag behind. You must see around the world, and the professors especially, they should go for 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 years to other companies. Don't bother about money, how much money you earn. See, as I mentioned to you, the intellectual property is the real property, not the money, not the gold, not the landed, how many flats you own, how many plots you hold. That is not very significant. What is significant is what is your intellectual property as a person. Professor ought to possess ambition to be equal to their counterparts in developed countries. You are a professor designated, but are you as competent as a professor in Germany, as competent in England or in France? Groom technology pioneers, they are the ones who enrich human civilization and take to greater heights. Institutions are expected to transfer knowledge and technology to industry. Effective licensing, this point is again very important. Effective licensing of IPR to promote job generation, technology diffusion, and economic growth is recommended. Licensing of IPR, you may have IPR, but the people steal the IPR and use it without proper permission, without authentic permission for world-proven strategies suggested in this book and available. Next, please. Synergy, this word is very important. What is meant by synergy between institute and industry? Synergy word is very important. The synergy means 1 + 1 make 2. This is not synergy. When 1 + 1 make 111, 1011, when they are mutually supporting multiples of the figures, when they make, that is synergy. But in India, industry is going in one way and academic institutions are going in another way. Both are working very hard, but both do not stand in the world ranking proper level. Industry's productivity in India is 48th. Academic institutions' productivity, you already know, we do not stand in the world list. So until and unless they join hands for research innovation, if an institute is successful to build in industry institute synergy, that institution will have a better future. If you are in a closed silo of yourself, your potential will not be utilized. Your potential will go waste. Internal working must be matched. This is an important statement everyone must know. Internal working of the principal, professor, student must be matched with the external ideas from both industry and alumni. Benchmarking with the world best must be done. Alumni, we are neglecting. We feel they have no role in an institution. But in a family, the children, they make future for the father and mother. Standalone style of working must be abandoned. A bird cannot fly. Remember this statement. A bird cannot fly with one wing. Industry and institute are the two wings of economy. If they work in harmony, then and then only the Indian economy will progress. This is a very important thing. An institution, industry, and alumni must jointly dream, have a shared vision, use collective wisdom to grow to the world-class level. In institutes like MIT and Stanford, alumni have played a very, very important role. If you study the case studies of these institutions, you will find that what the MIT was not able to finance, the alumni came forward and they started a new thing, many new things. Opportunities for professional growth, the MOOC courses, for example, in MIT. The MOOC courses, the universities, MIT said, we have no money. The alumni said, they are important. All right, we will give full money for these MOOC courses. And they did it. Opportunities for professional growth to professors to be increased. Professors have to be as competent and as growthful as the professors in foreign. Deputing them to world-best universities is very strongly recommended. If you have not visited the world-class universities, world-best universities, you do not know what your counterparts elsewhere in the world are doing and how are they doing, what are their strategies. You are still working on non-priority items in your country. Yeah, may I have the next one slide? Next slide. Governance. Changing mindset of governing people, changing mindset of youth in favor of innovation is important. National Research Foundation has recommended to give boost to research, innovation and entrepreneurship. Foreign direct investment is coming. Grip of government on education in India is very strong. It has to be reduced. Autonomy is needed. The persons, if you are driving a vehicle, your clutch, your gear, your brakes, they are in the hands of a driver. But if this driver is not given, if the principal, if the vice chancellor, they are not given autonomy to run there, and if somebody sitting in Delhi or Bombay, you give the dictation, this is not going to work. PPP mode of operation is to be practiced. Colleges must generate income by virtue of their knowledge and expertise. See, this is a very important statement. Colleges and universities, government has given so many things now, but with that, what are we generating? We should not look again to the government to get more funds. With what we have been given, whatever infrastructure is created, can we generate the income from it? Should be given a thought. May I have the next one? In conclusion, the way technical education is going to be taught in future will undergo a big change. And we have to initiate this change. We should not be a follower of the change, but we should be a leader of the change. What is the responsibility of college in this new change? Our document of NEP 2020 must be read, debated, and discussed in every institution. Every professor has a responsibility. Every institution has a responsibility. They should not comply merely what the government prescriptions are there. If we comply what the government prescriptions are there, we will remain a follower. We will never become a leader. And the nation needs now leadership. Colleges, universities to produce innovators, industry experts and idea men need to be involved more and more in teaching. There are many idea men in industry. There are many industry experts in industry. Don't depend upon only internal faculty to teach. We will never bring the innovation to our students. Professors have capability. Research, innovation, and entrepreneurship are today's Guru Mantra. College will lead which practices Guru Mantra. Let all of us re-engineer our universities and colleges to make them globally competitive. We must re-engineer, we must restructure, reformulate as per the mandates given by NEP. If all professors mean, professor is a big force, education in India will improve. Yeah, is there a next slide or this is all? Yeah, now I will say thank you. But after this, I will tell a little about the case studies from other university. We know that the leaders of today in science and technology, leaders of today in industry, economy, were students yesterday. We professors have to look at today's students as leaders of tomorrow and groom them. We have to groom them to become worthy leaders of the country. A fresh culture in an institution of innovation and entrepreneurship in universities and colleges needs to be introduced. Professors and students have high potential, but so far it is wasted, it is untapped. Will the professors lead to introduce new culture effectively? Will they be passive or they will be active is the important question. Professors must be active, they should be thinking, they should be uniting. Educate youths to become able men and women and men to earn money by only ethical means. Only ethical means and yeah, what it is. Anyway. And humanity at heart. This is very, very important. I thank you here as far as, but shall I share? There is still time of 10 minutes. Should we spend on discussion or you want to raise certain questions? What would you suggest? Bhaskar, what is your proposal? We have a few more minutes.
So for question answer sessions,
Uh-huh.
if you don't mind, our participants will like to communicate you on this.
Yeah. Correct, correct.
Participants can unmute at their level and can communicate on this platform.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Myself, Dr. Monica Khurana from Sushant University, Gurgaon. So it was so enlightening talk. I really thank you, sir, for enlightening us, for inspiring us. Your each word, each line, what you spoke, it was so meaningful, thought-provoking. It was wonderful talk. But I have few questions, sir. Like we all know what are the challenging we are facing in India regarding innovation, research, teaching, but we are not actually doing anything. We know what are the challenging, and we are actually how to overcome these challenges. We actually are not working towards that. So we know what are the problems existing. Government knows, the regulatory bodies know, but how to solve these problems? That is main thing that our teaching or education system is lagging behind than other countries, developed countries. So so what could be done actually, sir, to improve the education? New NEP policy, okay, has come into force, which seems to be like, yes, very like competitive. Like if we implement those,
you have to give a detailed thought to this and share your thoughts with the people, within the faculty, with the principal, with the industry people. We have to debate, and debate. It is not so easy to find a solution. First of all, we have to define a problem. And when you define a problem, then you have to find a solution. But the solutions are not so easy. The solutions are in steps, one step, second step, third step. Now the India government through NEP is forthcoming to help you. The universities and colleges will be forthcoming to help you out. What they wanted from the professor side, initiation, and attend the conferences, attend the seminars and symposia like online, and nowadays this is the more efficient method without traveling and eating and all that. You are able to share the thoughts. I am sure with your thoughts in the course of the time, you will find solution to your problems. I am very sure your problems are very benign and you will get a solution from yourself, something actively yourself and something from your friends, something from industry people. There are many idea people, innovative people who are thinking like you. We have to come together in a group and find a solution. Does it answer your question, Monica?
Not really, sir. So for example, sir, like API score, the UGC has given for the professors, right? So in the API score, they give even for non-refereed journals, they give marks. You have the points for even publishing in a non-refereed journals. So if the regulatory bodies are, considering your paper, if it is even in a non-refereed journal, so the people will publish, then how we can bring innovation then? How we
See,
can,
this all is going to change. Now, this is not going to remain as it is today. You just wait for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. Now, the reformation of the UGC and AICT is in the process. Similarly, the research foundation is being created. There will be a sea change in the coming time. And those who work with the outdated concepts, they will go out of business. And the people who work with new business will come on the forefront. Don't think that the yesterday's systems will regulate you also tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have different systems. As you mentioned, what is the standing of a journal? If it is not a referred journal, you see, and besides that, if you have intellectual property, concentrate less on paper publication, but concentrate more on intellectual property, patents, and commercial exploitation of the patents. Not only patents, see, there are many patents where they are not used, but such patents, if you produce, they are of no use except to build the academy. You see, the professor, I personally feel, must be concentrating on outcome. They must be concentrating on, in real terms, intellectual property. What AICT says, what university says, see, make a reference to the world statistics. Don't make a reference to the internal within India. Our people in UGC or NUC, they are not with the world. They are behind the world. And that is why Indian education is behind the world. If the AICT, UGC would have been better, Indian economy, you see, India has a lot of money. Every university, every institution has a lot of money. But the visions and missions are controlled by the government systems. And slowly, slowly, with the coming of globalization, this will be made easy and your way will become simpler. I have no doubt, Dr. Monica.
yes, sir, I hope so. With the new education policy coming up in future, so we will be able to improve
Yes,
improve a lot on our
100%.
education system, and it is, very much required. It's need of the hour now.
Yes, it is. If it is the need of the hour, it will happen as early as possible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other question? See, if there are no questions, let me tell you my experience. I went to visit a Hanover industrial exhibition. Hanover is a city in Germany, and it holds a international exhibition, industrial exhibition. People come here from all over the world, from east and west. I went there once. There was a pavilion, and the pavilion was meant for universities and colleges. And this pavilion was most crowded. Why was it most crowded? The industry people were visiting this pavilion, and who were explaining the things to the industry people, they were the students who had obtained patents, who had obtained intellectual property rights. Now the industry people want to know what is the technology of tomorrow on which they can encash more, what things they should do next instead of repeating what they have done in the past 5 years or 10 years. This was most crowded. Now a new trend will begin in this country, that the innovators, the idea men will think seriously about the intellectual property and make encashment. We are today not so much IPR oriented. Yesterday, I had a lecture in this university. I delivered in university at Aurangabad. Intellectual property is very important. It is the most important now. And that nation where intellectual property is high, the nation is prosperous. That nation where intellectual property is low is less prosperous, even if the land, water, minerals are plentiful. See, look at Japan. Japan's intellectual property is high, but natural resources are too low. There are many developing countries like India where the natural resources are very high, but our intellectual property is quite low. See, I went to Toronto University. I would like to share this experience of Toronto. Toronto University, I met a professor known as Professor Evans. He started a research park. And he, first of all, convinced his university long back, 50, 60 years before, he built one building and invited industries. Industries came. Why did they come? Because of the research activity in the university. If the university has less of research, the industry is less likely to come. Now this Professor Evans built one building, second building, third building. Now there are 17 buildings in the heart of city, Toronto. 17 buildings. When I visited some 3-4 years before, they have 17 buildings, and how many PhD qualified people are working in these 17 buildings? As many as 6,000 PhD holders are working. They are innovators. They are in intimate contact. They are intimate contact with Toronto University, and the professors and the students work. Students work in this research park during vacations. And the expert engineers from this research park, they teach in the university in their spare time. There is an exchange. When the research park is an industrial complex adjacent to the institute, then there is an easy exchange between teachers and engineers in that. There are many examples. See, I went to McMaster University in Canada. Canada, you know, is quite good. 17 universities, 17 research parks. See, McMaster University, every week I attended their courses. Every week, Saturday, Sunday, they conduct a course for would-be entrepreneurs, for those who want to attend. They give free lunch, free dinner to the people and attend and conduct, bring experts from the industry local as well as from outside. So conducting the frequent meetings of innovators in the campus is very important. Chartered accountants, engineers, industrial relations officers, then the human resource people and so on is very, very important. I request, well, friends, AURP, Association of University Research Parks, and the Battle, they have published a 150-page evaluation of the research park. In India, we are too slow to adopt, and we have to accelerate this adoption of this. You see, unless there are many research parks in these countries, like you see, this our atomic energy gentleman. He went on behalf of the government to China. When he came back, he reported that China then started 100 research parks at a time. This is a story of 10 years back. And he reported, he recommended to Maharashtra government to start the research park schemes. But unfortunately, Maharashtra government did not listen to it. But nowadays, you see, something is happening. The things do not happen all of a sudden. The things take time. And when the right time comes, the things do happen. I wish you all keep working in this direction and innovative way. You will succeed. You will get job satisfaction. And you will provide your students what is needed tomorrow in international context. Yeah, thank you very much.
Sir, there's one more thing I would like to ask. Sir, even we are talking about intellectual property rights. So I have seen many colleagues who are not doing research, but they are publishing patents. You just pay the patent publication fee 8,000 to Indian Patent Office, and your application will be published. And they then, flaunt these patents on their CV that my patent has been published. In actual, I know that they have not done any research. So I think the
But is it
system needs to be
commercialized?
changed. Yeah, system needs to be changed.
Yeah,
Then only we
systems
can
will
bring
change.
some change.
See, right from the time top, now UGC AICT is being merged. New research foundation is being created. And now the governance of the universities and colleges will undergo a big change. It will not remain the same. Things will change, but not overnight. And what you feel, patents, there are many patents people get, but are these patents utilized by a commercial organization? Do they make money out of it? They don't make money. And then such patents are just for academic purposes, to become a professor, to become a vice chancellor, to become a higher level bureaucrat in the government, and so on. See, there are always things like this happen. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, we are moving toward the conclusion of this session. Question and answer sessions have been also excellent. With deep reverence, I express my sincere gratitude to respected Dr. Naik sir for such a fascinating session on the integral topic, insights to research, innovation and entrepreneurship, very much concerned to all of us. Here we have understood many things. I share a little. The root causes of all problems in education are insufficient innovation and insufficient entrepreneurship. Machines as well as men both become obsolete. Paper degree mind should not be the target of the students. industry and institute are the two wings of economy, and so many things. Respected sir, being connected with the learners at the age of 81 plus is not less than a miracle. Definitely, I believe that each academician will like to communicate with the learners at their eldest age also. So that is the dream of myself also. Further, being unbeaten on 81 is also a big challenge for me. Definitely, in regard to the enthusiasm, sir is not the eldest. I am sure that the participants have a new vision towards research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Many thanks, respected Naik sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Indeed, I have enjoyed talk with you. Thank you, Dr. Biskar and others.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
Yuvrekar
Naik.
sir is also there.
Thank you,
Very
Sonali
much,
sir.
sir. I'm Dr. Bichkar. Hello.
Sir, speak loudly.
Uh, yes, I'm Dr. Bichkar. I am really very proud to be a student of HGGS Nanded. I was in second year when Dr. Naik sir had joined as a principal of our institute, and he is simply, wonderful. We have been listening to him for now decades, and he has been always inspiring. Sir, you are really wonderful. You have been giving so many wonderful ideas to the young generation, to the teachers, and certainly we have to now start implementing these ideas. You have given a wonderful book also, and your ideas, several books you have published, and it's time that we should go through all these books, and we should try to implement the thoughts that you have given us on this. Your speech was really wonderful. I was there throughout the lecture, and we are going to really implement all these points in our institute in days to come. Thank you, sir, very much for making it happen. It is a dream come true for a learned person like you to be on the list of our guest speakers. Thank you very much, sir, once again. Thank you.
Thank you, Biskar. I'm so happy you people like my lecture. Huh?
Yes, sir, very. It was excellent, sir.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Many
you.
thanks.
Thank
Principal
you.
sir.
Every
Thank you.
word was every word was valuable, sir, and we will follow each and everything, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Can we, all the participants, please switch on your cameras so that we can capture a photograph with all of you, with Naik sir also. Right. So it is like an honor for all of us. Naik sir is the young man. He changed the way he was sitting, right, sir? So great, great, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It is really motivating for all of us, sir. Right, the way you prepared in us in a few seconds, right? Thank you so much, all of you. Have captured
We
the
are
photograph.
the youngest man in your group. Huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, true, true. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.